Welcome back to the EMEA playoffs. We're officially at the halfway point of the day. 2 matches down, 2 land spots are determined, and still 2 more sets of SMITE 2 to go. I'm J-Mac, joined by Trelly, as we get ready to go into our final qualification matchup of the day. We've already sent Team Risk and Mockingbird. They're going to the in-studio land. They'll have a seeding match to play at the end of the day. But we still have one more spot to go. We've got Giovanni, Giorgio, and Smokebreak, our last 2 teams in the losers qualifier, in the losers round of the bracket, I should say, playing for the last land spot. We can take a look at the bracket and see the journey of these 2 teams and maybe some of the trouble and some of the struggle that have come through for these 2 squads. Giovanni, Giorgio, well, they got to have themselves a nice little break at the start of last weekend where, they didn't have to play the first round. Then they get knocked down in the losers round by Bill's Goons in the quarterfinals. And then since then, Giovanni, Giorgio are able to take down Threat Level Midnight, Titans Reloaded, and just now in a Game 3 defeated Scorps. For Smokebreak, they did have to play, at least for their very first portion. They started against Titans Reloaded and then had to face off against Team Risk, which is never an easy point of the bracket where you have to fight into. They get knocked down as well and then take out Tithonic, Yodi Gang, and Bill's Goons. And now both Smokebreak and Giovanni Giorgio meet one final time here in the EMEA playoffs to see who's going to be the final team to make it to the in-studio land.
And what a set we have for you today, ladies and gentlemen, because as J-Mac just said, these guys are the last that's left. Everyone else has already either went home and understand their fate, or they've qualified and they just have to play for some seeding. Giovanni, Giorgio, and Smokebreak, they got to leave it all on the table, which I think the best matchups can come from that, because not only are you fearful of losing your spot, but also you're excited. You want to make that spot at land. You want to make your presence known, and you want to get the chance to play teams from other regions. That is also quite the gift here, because there's a lot of different talent that is going to be all culminating in that in-studio land in a few weeks. But you got to get there first, and of course, Giovanni Giorgio just gave us quite the set versus their squad. So we have to make sure that they are still up to snuff. The Smokebreak, they kind of just got to sit back and watch. As far as I'm concerned, a 2-0, that's cushy. That's nothing.
Yeah, they had to get a little bit of maybe more intel to see what Giovanni Giorgio had in their set, and the picks and bans maybe tell a very big story. One thing that we saw from Scorps' adaptation in Giovanni Giorgio's set, especially in that Game 3, was taking the successes of other teams to try and go through it. If it weren't for one bad team fight at the 46-minute mark in a game, that composition could have very well worked. Giovanni Giorgio were able to weather the storm, and now they meet up here against Smokebreak for this final match. First ban is going to be the Morgan on the side of GG for Smokebreak. What will their ban god be? We've seen a lot of Zeus. We've seen a lot of Kernanos. We've seen Jing Wei pop up as well. Even Sobek has seen at least a ban or 2 over the course of this weekend and of the previous. And that's not even to mention the fact that we still have 3 brand new gods that we've gotten to see 2 of so far. We got to see Kepri, we got to see Izanami earlier. Still no sign of the Nemesis just yet, and there will be no Jing Wei, as that is the first ban on the side of Smokebreak. Charlie, I don't know what it is about this Chalk, but was there some crazy buff to Chalk that I'm unaware of that has just catapulted him into priority?
Chalk has definitely been ban-worthy and ranked in particular, but I would have expected the Sobek there. I know that Nika's been going back to this Chalk time and time again. It's been looking good on it for sure, but looks like they just value the safety, the mobility, and that burst damage slash self-sustain that Chalk provides, and they're not too worried about that Sobek pick, so they can give it over to Smokebreak if they want it. Benko has looked good on it, but not his favorite matchup. I still think Benko just loves going towards Amma. Like, if you give Deathwalker Amma, he's going to take it. We'll see if that's the case here, or if he does just go to something like the Sobek. But the other benefit of Chalk is that it doesn't really reveal anything about your draft. Like, you got Chalk, great, that's it. Are we playing for pressure? Are we playing for early game, late game? Chalk doesn't really say anything about that, so I think it's also just really safe in that regard. So Smokebreak can sort of draft against it. If I'm them though, given what I just watched, I'm probably taking CERN 100% here. There's no way we're giving that back to Coast with Jingwei banned. Put him on something like On Her. Put him like something like he likes to play the Neath. Make sure he doesn't get that hard carry potential. Because if they don't, I think it's a major fumble.
I mean, we saw it just in the last team fight of that last set what Coast is able to do when he gets 6 slot and is given an inch to breathe on a gun like Kerna. So taking that away is Smokebreak, that one going over to E-Chrome. in the duo lane and still awaiting what their second pick is going to be. A lot of options if you want to go for the support route. We've seen Umoja kind of rise back up again. Baron is always still an option if you want to go and stay in more of that sustain route. Or if you want to keep up the aggression, Ymir, Sobek have kind of been the two go-tos at this point. But it'll be neither of them for the time being. Instead, it'll be the jungle selection. Loki locked in for smoke break.
My guess is they thought either A, they don't have to grab Sobek there, or they know that Kha'Zix won't take it. I think Kha'Zix will take it, but they're not too fearful of it. Kha'Zix has had quite the varied god pool so far. We saw him on Bacchus just a bit ago. I still think the Ymir could be an idea, but we'll wait and see. Loki just brings so much potential to your late game. And we also know that Adapting likes to go to it, so take it away from him, not a bad look. However, Adapting has quite the nasty chalk jungle, as we've seen time and time again. Hasn't really played it too much recently, but early on in the Founder Series definitely went to it. And of course, loves the Fenrir as well, which has a good matchup into Loki, mind you. So definitely something that Giovanni Giorgio could be looking to try and counter up against, but not a lot of CC immunity in the CERN. They already have the Ymir, the chalk, a lot of CC already locked in here.
So what a GG go for in their third pick. They've got two of their front line now with Chalk and Ymir, and still some flexibility for both of them. Ymir has more often than not now been going over into the support role. There was a brief time where we were seeing him over in the solo lane. Chalk has shown that he can be both a solo laner and a jungler, so still some option there. And then a Zeus. We kind of just forgot about Zeus for a moment. You know, we've been seeing him banned so frequently over the course of today and in previous weekends that Zeus jumping up here kind of caught me a little bit off guard, but it's no surprise why we're seeing Zeus at all. He is just that good of a mid laner right now.
Yeah, he does a ton of damage, but the issue, of course, is that he can die, and Loki is a great pick to try and pick him off. It's all about positioning. Dardes has never struck me as a mid laner who doesn't like to die, right? Like, there are mid laners that position well and say, you know what, I'm going to forego damage in this team fight to make sure I live. Dardes will get into the thick of it. He doesn't care. He will trade out his life gladly for dropping a key lightning storm, things like that. So if that's the case, like we've seen time and time again, then yeah, I don't mind the Zeus here. He probably is going to be trading out his life every once in a while, but that's kind of the benefit of Zeus, is that crazy AoE burst damage. I'd be surprised if we didn't see the Sobek at some point here for Smoke Break. You don't have to get it now, of course. Again, with Ymir and Chalk already locked in, probably not going to be something they're too concerned about, but I just think that's another great tool for sending the Zeus back. He doesn't have beads, doesn't have Aegis, doesn't have blink, something like that, and you just have an easy pick. And you can't detonate when you're in midair, so that definitely would help out.
We saw in our previous set a Zeus, well, not the set that we just watched the game 3 of, the set before that, where Zeus had gone Talisman of Purification just to kind of be that self-peel. Can't help out the team when needed, but mostly just a, hey, get off of me, I need to live in the middle of a team fight. Instead it'll be Umoja, at least for this pick on the side of Smoke Break. Doesn't mean that Sobek is off the cards. We've been seeing a lot of solo Beck over anything else, so we still can't see that option for Smoke Break, but locking in to give a little bit of sustain over to the side of Smoke Break, a lot of mobility as well. We don't really see it as much nowadays with Umoja, but Riptide is still such a potent ability to either chase down an enemy team, or if you just need to get your entire team away from a team fight and just get on the retreat. Umoja is a fantastic god to both get in and get out of team fights.
Not only that, you can also pair the Umoja with Ama, and then you really are zooming. Fenrir is going to be the option, though, so not too worried about a solo laner, at least for now. I mean, a traditional solo laner, I should say, because it looks like it's going to be Fenrir solo up against, presumably, the Chalk, right? That's all we have information-wise for now. Nika has been going to the Chalk pretty consistently, so I think it all makes sense. Not a great matchup for either, really. I mean, Chalk's going to out-clear once he gets his levels and his abilities, but Fenrir is just a lane bully in general, so I'm not going to give one favor over the other for now. What you do have to watch out for is just getting Ragnarok under tower, right? That's always super annoying. Wow. I mean, this is interesting. Thanatos has been a pick that's been tossed around for a while, but he is so hit or miss. Are you on point? If yes, Thanatos can carry a game. If not, you bring negative value to your team. Adapting must be feeling confident if he goes to the Thanatos here when qualification/elimination is on the line.
Well, it is game 1 of the set, and it is a best of 3. So trying to maybe test the waters a little bit, see what the matchup is like, the Thanatos versus the Loki against Smoke Break. And then Izanami. We talked about a few different, a few new gods that are available for this week of play. Weren't available last week. Khepri, Nem, Izanami, all going to be available to play this weekend. Now we're seeing the Izanami here for the second time today. The question is, what is the response going to be from Smokebreak? Looking for what I would assume to be their mid laner. Still a couple of good options open. You can go for the Cuckoo if you want to maybe have some safety. The Kate as well if you want to get a little bit of extra utility with that Open the Gates ultimate. It's all just dependent maybe on what style of play that Smokebreak wants to go for. I mean, I see Fenrir, Loki, they both are very aggressive gods, but these are also very get in, get out style of play. There's not really a whole lot of defense for the rest of your team. Almost forgot about Raw, though, because we saw a lot of Raw solo last week and those working well. Almost forgot that he can double up as a mid laner.
Yeah, I was going to call for the Raw, but then I thought Nuwa would have dealt the damage just a little bit safer here. Raw doesn't have a great time into the Ymir, doesn't like the chalk, but does have a great matchup in a Thanatos, in my opinion. As long as you're sitting there and you know Thanatos is coming, you can always snipe him before he goes up into the air, and then if he does, look at all the sustain. If you're in Threshold, you got Yemoja, you got Raw, you can try and heal back up out of that Threshold. Of course, similar issue to Zeus where you're a bit immobile, but the newfound build that I've been going, a lot of people have picked up on, is you go Gem of Focus, you go Doom Orb, you get Raw passive. Now you're the fastest god in the game, and you don't really care that you're immobile because you can just zoom around. Could be the idea here. Sap7 does have plenty of experience just playing all sorts of mid laners, so I doubt this is going to be that much trouble. You got to think with the setup as well, though. Who's setting up for Searing Pain? We got Yemoja, we got Fen, and we have Loki ult. Seems like they have a lot of lockdown, a lot of CC, especially if Zeus and Thana are your targets, because more often than not, they're not picking up beads. When you're up against something like Yemoja, you're going to want to blink out and just hope your team can beat you for the Ragnaroks.
So then I wonder maybe where the priority goes for these two junglers to try and get some kind of advantage in the matchup. I'm looking as a Loki. I see Izanami, Ymir. That's a tough dual lane to fight into just because of how fast their clear is going to be. You're probably always going to fight a disadvantage in lane. So do you then try and just pick on the Zeus this entire time, keep forcing either a Beads or an Aegis off him or his Blink? Is that kind of the ideal place for this Loki to go on Smokebreak to try and get some advantage in the jungle?
Well, the issue is that mid lane is so incredibly safe, right? Zeus has his chain lightning that can clear from a distance, so he doesn't usually have to walk out of that tower line. I think pre-level 5, there will be at least one attempt on Zeus's life, but Giovanni, Giorgio in particular, has been seeing a lot of presence towards Nika, even on a chalk. Like the gank pressure has been over towards solo lane. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Ragnaroks trying to pull ult and then you just send Johnny right over. Solo is a great lane to try and get ahead on, because if you do get the gank, then you and Benko can take the teleporter. Guess what? Now we're in duo. It's a 4v2. So those kind of plays will definitely be seen. Question is, will Nika fall for them? But I do think that Dara is going to have to watch at least 1 or 2 ganks in the early game, because Relics on such a long timer, especially when you're going combo up link, which most everyone is in the mid lane. So it's going to be something to watch out for.
There's a lot of history between these two teams as well. While a lot of the players here from Giovanni and Giorgio have mostly been at the SPL level for a larger portion of their career, or have been at the top level of SCC, Smokebreak have had similar levels of feature. Benko, formerly known as Deathwalker, has been at the SPL and has always been at that top level of SCC, making Worlds twice from that amateur scene, whenever maybe some of the other teams out there were just thinking, okay, it's just the EU, the EMEA guys, what are they going to do? They're going to run right through and find some kind of upset and surprise, and almost forgot the fact that this is Johnny on Smokebreak, and this is like his pick. In SMITE 1, he was the Loki guy, no matter if it was in his top-level competitive career at the SPL or if it was in the SCC, whatever it may have been. Johnny and Loki go together perfectly, and so this is the ideal god for Smokebreak's jungler. We'll have to see if it's the ideal matchup, though, for them, because Giovanni Giorgio, as I kind of mentioned earlier, this is a very storied team just with 3 players already on there. Nika, Dardas, Vaporchko's been teaming together this past year from SMITE 1. We'll see if they can bring it together here in SMITE 2. It is game number 1 of our losers finals in a qualification match. We'll take it over to our casters.
Winner goes to LAN, loser, no chance. Both of these teams coming from lower round 2. It's been a long journey for both teams, and now you are 1 step away. Inbound and Jorby taking you through the action. Smokebreak took down Bill's goons to get to this point, who took down Giovanni Giorgio to send them to lowers round 2, but as we're probably not too shocked inbound, they find themselves here 1 step away from that LAN qualification.
Yeah, and honestly, I think Smokebreak is maybe the slightly more surprising team to make it here, because Giovanni Giorgio was the number 2 seed coming into this tournament, and they other than the little misstep versus Bills Goons, they still look like a top 2 team. So I think Smoke Break is still going to be fighting that uphill battle. But as talked about on the desk, these are teams that they've won before. They've made it through tournaments. They have either played at the SPL level, they've played SEC, and they've won through SEC. Both of these teams are not worried about the experience. So now it's just which team is going to bring their best during this series. And looking at the comp side of things, there's a little bit of riskiness on both sides of it. We have, and actually, before I even talk about comps, we have a proxy by both Coast and Kha'Zix. We see this when we have high pressure and high clearing duo laners. They're going to clear very quickly. Is Johnny's response going to be to rotate to this, or is he going to look to farm? And it's going to be to rotate.
And we'll get the early fight going. Try to catch Kha'Zix out. Getting a lot of that level 1 Loki damage. And a little bit of support from the Emoja as well. And Kha'Zix will get picked. Nothing Vapor's Coast could do about it.
And it seems like they had an idea, but they just didn't expect that was going to be the response, because Kha'Zix was confident that he wanted to walk into the jungle to kind of defend that speed buff, but Johnny just said, I'll wait on that. I'm going to just kill you first, and then I'll do it for 100%. Benko getting that Sunder, getting the secure on that blue buff. Both sides of the map now have seen a little bit of invades. Benko invading on the right side for Smoke Break, and then Giovanni Giorgio with Kha'Zix and Vaporish Coast invading on the left side. So far, a pretty big trade actually for Smoke Break, because they get that first blood, and then they steal away the purple or the blue buff. So a couple big wins. And when you look at Giovanni Giorgio's comp, this Ymir Izza wants to win and wants to get ahead. If they fall behind, there is a very real chance that they just get ran down by both Silenced and Ecrom. So that is a very big worry in this early portion for Giovanni Giorgio. And then Chalk is kind of the same thing. I think Chalk is a lot more scaling heavy than he used to be in Smite 1. He's got a lot of builds that kind of fine-tune his late game and make it a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more threatening. So I don't worry too much about that side of the map. I'm just hyper-focused on duo side, because if Kha'Zix falls behind, if he dies another time and he just becomes fodder, there's really nobody that can walk up for Giovanni Giorgio, because Chalk's not a full true tank. Adapting isn't really going to be building any tankiness, and then Dardes and Coast are building full damage. So Kha'Zix is a very important portion to this entire game, and he needs to survive.
Get a little support on the solo lane. Meanwhile, Dardes is getting pushed back a little bit. And there you go, in a little bit of trouble. Benko uses the Brutalize to give himself a bit of spacing. It might not matter. Adapting's just a little bit faster, and a leap over the Fire Giant wall will save Benko's life. So no follow-up kill there for Giovanni to respond to that first blood. When you talk about this duo lane, ooh, missed the Frost Breath. Not great. Now Vaporish Coast gets Bramble butted, and well, the wall, just not able to get that damage off. You're forced just to clear the wave. And I mean, we haven't seen a lot of this Izanami inbound. We did see it picked one time, but obviously just now available this week to play. And you talk about the Ymir wanting to be ahead early. If you can nail those frost breaths, Izanami can dish out some sneaky damage early, especially with that sickle scythe online. And you can see how much damage gets pumped out quickly there on the Umoja, but can't get the kill. Dardes, a little bit of harassment, and you're not getting away from that one. Adapting comes in just a little too late, and no support there as he'll go down quickly.
And Trelly said this on the desk. He expects mid lane to be the focus, and that's what's happening so far. Dardes loses that Phantom earlier. Johnny waits a few waves, comes back around, and then kills him with no Phantom available. And you see how deadly that raw slow is, comboed with the Loki slow. Like, that's 5 seconds of slow with a character that just has no immunity or speed up potential when he is getting slowed. So as he dies there, he's gonna have to be very careful on like chain dying. It's kind of the same thing as the Ymir. One death and he just becomes pretty useless. And we have another invade on the right side. So far, Smoke Break's playing a very good early game. They seem to be the ones deciding, and they have another invade on the left side. And you know who's here? Johnny's rotating here, but so is the Zeus and so is the Thana.
Yeah, just keep on taking the buffs too. I mean, with the Frost Breath, maybe you can find the kill here, but the Death Scythe just misses the mark, and you're in a little bit of trouble here on the left side. Oh, you just get out. And Vaporish Coast happy to not just give away another kill there, but you will lose a little bit more farm, and well, things going well for Smoke Break. But I mean, also think about what Giovanni Giorgio just went through. They just went through one heck of a grind of a 3-game match, where that last game went almost 50 minutes long. We didn't catch the first 2 games of that match, but I can only imagine it was probably pretty long as well. So they've been playing for a good bit. Smoke Break It's been 2 O's for them. So, you know, you're playing a little bit less, maybe a little bit clearer in the head. Either way, Giovanni, Giorgio, we talk about the experience on this team. Everyone here is used to the long days, but when you're playing those tournament matches, it could really be a difference when Smokebreak are starting as strong as they are.
Yeah, and I think that's always a good conversation to have. When you have a best of 3, it goes really long, 3 games. Do you come into this next game hot, or do you come in a little bit fried? And so far from what we've seen, Smokebreak is the team that's coming in hot. They've had a very good start to this game. Benko's kind of dominating the solo side of the map. Adapting looks for that early gank, does not shut down Benko. And then they get the kill on Dardes, they get the kill on Kha'Zix, and it's... We have weak side in solo lane. Our solo lane is not dying. We're strong side in mid and in duo, and we are winning those lanes. It is a... Like, 2,000 gold doesn't seem like a lot, but at 5 minutes, Jorby, this is a ton of gold. This means that first item is coming online now for Smokebreak, and you still have very few first items online for Giovanni Giorgio, so that's a very big difference. And as I said, this is a dual lane that wants to get ahead. Ymir wants to get ahead, Izanami wants to get ahead, that's how they want to play. And when you have a Cern, you have a Raw, gods like this, you can very easily pull a Gold Fairy and just see what happens, see if anybody wants to try to contest it.
That's exactly what they're going to do. You talk about Echrome getting ahead, already stacking that Dev's gloves as well. And Porish Coasts, hoping they don't come and aggress them again. Looks like they actually stay off the Gold Fury. They'll deem it too risky for now. And another rotation towards that mid lane and continue to harass Dardes on that Zeus, or at least keep him in check. But they do have those slight leads. It was really that... A lot of times you see a first blood, and then you'll see a response immediately, and then it ends up not meaning too much. But, you know, stuff after the stuff, everything you want to say, like you talked about those early invades. Really, the first blood wasn't what really killed them. It was all the buffs they lost on top of it, and they haven't really been able to fully recover since that moment. This lane's going a little better, but as you can see, who's getting the better of it? It is Benko in the Fenrir against this Chalk here in the solo lane.
And it's like, does Adapting even want to rotate here to try to kill this Fenrir? Because double jump, he also has the ultimate for CC immunity and a lot of movement speed. And it's... I love how they're playing this so far with both Johnny and Benko. Benko is pressuring the right side, but he's kind of testing the water. Where is everyone? And if people come to the right side of the map, if Adapting shows up, if Dardes shows up, then Johnny's just going to get the free invade on the left side. That's now the 3rd speed buff that's been invaded. This is just good overall play by Smokebreak. It's nothing where they're even giving an opportunity for Giovanni Giorgio to even take the fight back. It is, we are taking guarantees and nothing more. And that's led to this. I mean, it's stagnated a little bit. I'd like to see them push it a little bit more. They tried for that Gold Fury, and it was just a good response by Giovanni Giorgio just to walk up and check it. But I kind of want to see them keep just pulling the Gold Fury. Like right here, Zeus is backing. Let's just see what happens. Let's look for a fight on the left side. Especially if Zeus isn't here, we can just pull and heal up. We have so much sustain with this Raw and Yemoja. I want to see them starting to use it and playing for these Gold Furies.
They are shading towards it. Dardes is back, trying to get a little bit more vision on what's going on here. Just trying to stay with the rotation. Looks like no fight for now. A little reminiscent of what we just watched with GG versus the last team that they played, where, you know, 50 minutes, I think, what was it, 7-7 before the final fight in terms of kills. Just farm, and hope you can get to harvest before the game finally ends. It seems like we're getting a little bit more of that. Smokebreak get those early wins, but like you said, not pressing the issue as much. Kha'Zix comes and takes a look over here in the mid lane. Giovanni Giorgio, the more that they kind of stagnate that 2k gold lead, you know, we're 8 minutes in, still haven't got much more. Adapting ult, not going to find anything, but you do force the Ragnarok out of Benko and force them out of lane. Nika gonna back.
And something I'm seeing is a double serrated already. Smokebreak on Benko has the serrated, and Adapting has it in the jungle on this Thanatos. And this item, not last patch, got buffed. 2 patches ago, it got this really big buff, where it is now 70 power when you are down your 3 base abilities. And on gods like Fenrir and gods like Thanatos, you are going all in. You're using all your abilities, and then you're going to trade a few autos. So there's a lot of value there and a lot of sustain. It's a lot of lifesteal. When you fight into this Fenrir, he will take a lot of damage, but he'll dish back a ton, and with dealing that damage, he'll also heal a ton. So even though Adapting is looking for these ganks onto the right side, there is no guarantee gank here. And the Deathwalker special is really, or the Benko special, old name Deathwalker, is he loves Cloak. This is like his favorite item. Every single game he'll build it, just because if it gets to that late game and he's fully stacked up, there's not a single item in the game that makes you tank here. So he just tries to abuse the stat efficiency of this item, combines it with an item that just gives him a ton of strength, and now he's got survivability in terms of protections, cooldown, and he's doing a lot of damage and sustaining a lot with the serrated. So I like the build that Benko is going for, and I want to see with this they start to play around it, because if you compare his build, you compare it with how adapting is in his build, he is just a lot stronger.
Nika is in a little bit of trouble. Blue buff got invaded and got taken. Benko will get out of there with Johnny. Although adapting has caught up a little bit here to Johnny in that jungle. He was down a level pretty much every step of the way since that first blood. And they're starting to even up in other places as well. But you talk about Benko's Fenrir still being ahead of Nika, really wanting to push the issue against him, because you don't want Nika to start ulting across, game-changing storm calls can absolutely ruin the momentum that your team has. So keeping him down has been a success so far. And they're even invading the jungle as well, making life really difficult for Giovanni Giorgio to really get this going. But like we saw from the last game as well, so focused on trying to make sure they get back map control, so focused on farming so they don't fall farther behind. They are unwilling to force fights, especially in this position. Even when they were ahead in their last match, they still didn't want to push the issue too far. This team didn't want to fight unless they know that they have the advantage, but they're slowly losing any kind of closeness that they're getting as the Gold Fury will begin for Smoke Break. Kozak's no chance. He gets zoned out with the Moonstrike as well. And there you go. First Gold Fury of the game has fallen 11 minutes, 30 seconds in, and that will help increase this a little bit farther. Almost 4.5 gold lead for Smoke Break.
And that's just a good Gold Fury call. Benko rotates over, is able to just kind of impose his will. If you guys walk up, we'll take the fight. If not, we'll just do it for free. Because as I said, the sustain is incredible. If you pull it, you take a little bit of damage. Yamoja and Ra are just going to heal so much. And something that Johnny and Benko used to do really well is Johnny would rotate over to solo lane, cover solo lane, as Benko would rotate to fights, because he was always the one that was just farther ahead, because he's a solo laner. That's just what happens. So what happens there? They send Benko over, the Fenrir that's level 12, 2 items deep, and they have the Loki go and just farm a little bit. You said not too long ago that, adapting is kind of catching up to Johnny. With a play like that, adapting isn't farming. Johnny is able to farm. Johnny's just slowly pushing his lead. And on top of Johnny's lead, the biggest lead right now is support, and that's still the most important. If this Ymir is falling behind, he's not able to walk up and get freezes. He's not able to place his wall as well and as aggressively as he wants to. A lot of the time, he's going to be playing super defensively. And on the opposite side, Yamoja's a character where if she gets ahead, Jorby, this character just does everything. She starts fights, she ends fights, she sustains, she does enough damage. And if I'm playing a Fed support, Yamoja's probably #1 on my list as the god I would want.
Yeah, I mean, she zones too, right? With River's Rebuke, there's so much that she has available in her kit, and obviously being ahead will certainly help. Meanwhile, Smoke Break want to push the issue in the jungle. Nika will be forced out. Brutalized, not doing too much to Nika, especially with the Rain Dance active. It'll be interesting to see where that goes once both players have their third item online. But as the dance happens, dropping it down, Adapting comes through and takes Echrome down. Despite Echrome dropping the kit there, Adapting with a nice kill. You need that Thanatos to come online at some point. And the Pyromancer, I believe there was no snipe there. It does go down to Giovanni Giorgio, I believe, got it actually.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was stolen. Nobody picked up that bomb. Unless they forgot to pick up bomb, which is always the chance. But I think you are right that Giovanni Giorgio stole that. So they got the steal on the Pyro. They also get the pick on left side. And that is because Echrome, after that Gold Fury, walked in aggressively. And while Coast was standing in that little entrance, he felt like he had to blink past. So he had no blink available. Coast had the Aegis, so he could just trade until Adapting rolled up there. And it just gets the free kill onto Echrome. This CERN is not a safe character. This is a character where, I mean, we saw it even just a couple games ago. You build this Fatalis and you just want to run everyone down, because the one thing you do very well is you do a ton of damage, but a lot of it is like dealt in melee range. So you kind of stick and then you start getting that melee passive where you're doing extra damage. That's kind of the strength of Echrome and the strength of Cernanos. Unfortunately, though, goes down there, isn't able to really trade at all. But still fine. He's still in a nice spot here. He's still got a nice lead. He's still higher than everybody on Giovanni Giorgio. There's no real threat for him to die. And when we slowly get farther into this game, at this point for sure, though, there's really no kill potential. And actually, as just shown there, bomb was picked up by Smokebreak, so they actually got it.
It did, and Echrome gets the kill on Coast, but he's in a little bit of trouble. He'll pay for this one. Try to dump out as much damage as you can. Here is the ice shards. Adapting comes down with hovering death, and will at least trade it out. And Adapting with 2 quick kills puts him 2 levels over Johnny in the jungle. You keep talking about that support matchup as well. Kha'Zix was down 3 levels, and no doubt will go down a 3rd level again here to the Yemoja as he gets deleted after Adapting left.
And we just had a bunch of action there. In the mid lane, Dardas get hit by the ult by Sap, so he's sent to back to base. We have the trade on the left side, and actually ends up being a 2-for-1 because Ecrom gets that solo, and that's actually almost more than a solo. And then after all that, we have a Gold Fury pull, and really nobody here to defend this for Giovanni Giorgio. So a massive lead by Smokebreak that's going to be pushed even farther. I mean, Jorby, at this point, Giovanni Giorgio's got to make a play to kind of get back. They've tried to make a couple, but it's said all the time, it's not just one kill that's getting you back into the game. What are we getting off of that kill? A kill is like 300 gold, 400 gold. We need a Gold Fury and then a tower or something else to really slow down this lead, because we still have towers for Smokebreak to get. That is like a 7,000 gold lead with not a single tower down. So there's a lot of gold on the map for Smokebreak to push their lead whenever they really want to.
I mean, the only objective we saw them contest was the Pyromancer, and they didn't even win that one. I mean, both Gold Furies were essentially free for Smokebreak, and that is not how you want to go, especially with this Thanatos. And Trelly was saying it on the desk as well. Like, this Thanatos has to get going, has to be producing on top for Giovanni Giorgio. Otherwise, like, you're just not going to get too much out of it. Now, Adapting in the mid game here has been a lot stronger. He's found the picks. He's gotten slightly ahead, right? But you're still not finding that force just yet where you really want him to take things over. But it's a good sign. Maybe it could be a potential turning point for Giovanni to win one of these team fights, take more of the objective control, the map control. They just have not done it so far against Smokebreak, who started strong and keep going strong as this gold lead continues to mount.
And you're 100% right. This Thanatos is doing fine for Giovanni Giorgio, but the issue is it's really just him. Nika's kind of farming evenly on the right side, but I mean, Sap's rotating here. Nika might even just die.
Yeah, tried to drop the storm call, but the storm is called and then warded off right afterwards. Kha'Zix, what are you going to do? You have Adapting, hovering death to come down. No death sight, no nothing. This is pretty much everything besides the death sight. Had to pull off, was too scared to go forward. And can you blame him? You get body blocked by Loki's 2. Frost Breath. Yeah, Loki's feeling pretty warm.
And it is just a disaster now. Smokebreak is in a great spot. My only worry is I think you should just send Ecrom over to go do this Fire Giant just in case. You don't want him out here by himself, because you see Host is sitting on the left side. Adapting maybe looks for rotation. Dardas feels like he has to make a hero play here. Might even walk in to try to defend this.
Trying to get in, trying to avoid everything. Has to drop the Lightning Storm as everybody came on top. But now the Fire Giant still in possession of Smokebreak. They just got to drop it here. Rivers Rebuke to block it out. Death Sight still Adapting. Hey, you said he's the only one doing something, but how about that?
What an incredible play by Adapting there, but that is almost lucky, and that is almost a bad play by Smokebreak to not have somebody just walk up in front of that. Why are we giving him the opportunity to? And actually, maybe a defense here on this Pyromancer. Coach from behind.
Feel this as well. The strike misses. And the Pyromancer, I believe Giovanni does actually get this one this time. And now they can push the issue as they start melting the health bars. Adapting, there he goes again. Silencing, silenced. And they get pushed out here as Adapting will live by the skin of his teeth there. No problem. Wild Hunt isn't going to do much more for them. Man, what a response. We needed a response out of Giovanni Giorgio if you wanted them to stay in this game. And that's the first step. You're still probably losing this tower. But here comes across, stealing the Fire Giant, stealing the Pyromancer, certainly getting you on the way. Ragnarok gets beads off. And Lightning Strike is, or Lightning Storm, excuse me, from Dardas going to zone everybody out here on Smokebreak, so they mitigate the damage to just a tier 1 lost in mid.
And a big Fire Giant steal there by Giovanni Giorgio. And it was almost like a little bit of a misplay by Smoke Break also after Fire Giant, where there's a fight and actually another pick onto Johnny by Nika. But I mean, that's set up by adapting. And again, we have to rave about the man that is keeping them in this game. This is a blowout if adapting is not playing the way he is. Stealing Fire Giants, getting picks. Nika's probably going to be dying again here soon. So another trade. But this is all off the back of adapting making plays. And after that Fire Giant, adapting does get the steal. A fight then happens on Pyro. That entire time, Benko, instead of, you know, going to Pyro and taking that fight, is just farming the right side. So a little bit of a sloppy last 2-3 minutes there by Smoke Break. I mean, this game could have been almost over by this point with just a slightly better Fire Giant fight. And then even if you lose Fire Giant, if you're just on the same page and you're either, you know, going Pyro or pushing towers because you still have this massive lead, you could still be pushing it. But a couple misplays on top of each other really halts this game, and it allows Giovanni Giorgio to now farm up, get back into this game, slow it down, which is the biggest thing, and really allow the Zeus to get comfortable, allow the Izza to get comfortable, and most of all, allow Kha'Zix to get some farm and get some levels.
Yeah, I mean, they still have a lot of work to do, right? They lose that Gold Fury again, and it's a 12K difference right now. Kha'Zix has caught up a little bit, but, I mean, look at mid lane as well. Dardez 3 levels still below Sap 7, and, I mean, you see the effect that that's had. I mean, Dardez has gotten harassed all game long. Nika's also been getting harassed. They just haven't been winning these other lanes, despite some of the heroism from Thanatos, from adapting. Stormcall comes out to beat the Ragnarok, getting the tower damage on, but there's 3 players over here that Nika has to account for. And everybody else in that mid lane, they're starting to look over, but everyone's pulling back already on Smoke Break. They made their play. They know that rotation's coming. You see Benko kind of waiting for that pushover. Adapting does eventually decide to go as he sees no one from Smoke Break has left this lane. Has a little bit of support as well with Kha'Zix. They actually fight it. Nika wanted to hang it back. Unfortunately for him, he could not quite get his 2 to make contact and stop the back. Adapting actually catching out the support here. Trying to throw it out, but you know, the water rig's so tough. Riptide, so annoying when you're trying to track down that Yamoja. And then enough Omi, you're never going to catch her.
And towards the end of that, Kos loses his Aegis, which is very important for a character like Izanami, where, yes, she has that Fatalis right now, but her dash is still a little bit too slow to really instantly respond to like a Loki ult or to a Fenrir ultimate. So she needs that Aegis for a lot of her survivability. If a fight breaks out now, I mean, killing an Izza without Aegis is easy. Killing an Izza with Aegis is, I mean, you're about to see it right here. Actually, I don't know why Johnny doesn't look for that kill onto the Izanami who doesn't have Aegis. Maybe he just doesn't know it's down. Maybe it wasn't called out. But that, in my world, that is a completely free kill that he just kind of gives up.
And it's like slight miscues from the Smoke Break. It hasn't really costed them the way that you think it might in other games. I mean, that's just due to how well that they've farmed everywhere on the map, outside of the jungle, outside of adapting, as we pointed out so many times. Look how much damage is being dealt out by the Cernanos, forcing Vaporous Ghost off, and here they come. Vaporous Ghost turned around on Johnny, and adapting came in to help out. No doubt hovering death is going to greatly affect your movement around the Izanami.
Why did Johnny take the fight afterwards when Izza has all of her abilities up, when she just like, it's just like a weird timing of things where you knew where everyone was a few minutes ago, you didn't know where anyone was at that point. Adapting is able to pretty freely rotate over, and I don't even know if Kos needed adapting. He probably just gets that solo anyway, or at the very least, Johnny lives with just a few HP. But I mean, just again, Smoke Break just makes another weird play that slows down this game even more. I mean, slowly but surely, Giovanni Giorgio is coming back into this game. Kos is getting a tower. Yes, Benko's here. Yes, Sap's here. Probably going to be killing Kos, but Kos is doing what he needs to do. He's getting farmed. He's just getting to the point where he is a threat again. He's finishing his starter. He's got this Fatalis. He's got Titans. He's got XC. He's got a lot of damage now.
And I mean, I said look at the Cern earlier when it was Johnny's still, but he was there so long. Now the Brambles to stop adapting. You get wild hunted. Ekrom, he's the Witcher.
And that's just a good pick onto him. I think Ekrom's actually piloted this CERN very well. And if they're going to win this game, it's going to be off of what Ekrom does late game. He's a lot of their damage. And it looks like a 5v4. It looks like a defense is going to be breaking out here.
Cosmic's getting in the middle of it, has the shards of ice online, but you're not going to do enough damage before you eventually get fought out. Still, Nika's here to try to steal it away. That's going to be a tough ask for sure. So Smoke Break, they get 2 off the table, but they stole it again. You still lose 2 though, so I don't. How much is this really going to mean?
I mean, it just slows the game down even more. I think they can probably go for this right Phoenix, but that's fighting into adapting Darda's Coast. Okay, they should be able to go to this right Phoenix, but again, Jorby, we're just slowing this game down. We're in a 25-minute game. If I told you this was only 15, like this should be 20, 25,000. I don't even know if we should even be in this game if Smoke Break is playing a little bit cleaner, but they can at least get this Phoenix down. They can at least get to a spot where they can break the game open, get this Phoenix back up, go to this Ancient Fury, and then at Ancient Fury, you can maybe get the last 2 towers, maybe get the Phoenixes. But this is just, it's weird because this is such a good game by Smoke Break. 1 second, and then the next second, it's just a super sloppy play that shouldn't happen. And it doesn't really result on this being a close game because it's really not. This game is a blowout by Smoke Break. But there's just a lot of fight back for no reason, just off the back of Smoke Break making incorrect calls.
It's kind of making you wonder, I mean, heading into the next game. Not saying this game is particularly over, but like you're saying, it should definitely be over. But, you know, going into game 2, it's kind of scary because, you know, if you don't get as strong as of a start as you did, if you're Smoke Break, like, do those little misplays actually cost you the game? Like, those little things tend to carry over those little mistakes, like not body blocking a Death Scythe on the Fire Giant, not actually peeling off that Fire Giant, making sure Nika can stay away from it. Like, those little things can be the thing that really makes it hard to actually win a series, to win the whole set. And I mean, Giovanni, Giorgio, they have so much experience on this side. The fact that they're able to make it look close at times, despite, I mean, the goal difference is 15K, almost 15K, 14 and a half. The XP diff starting to matter a lot less, but still, like you said, you elongate the game a little bit further. Everyone starting to finish their second to last item on the side of Giovanni Giorgio. So you've lasted this long. You can get to 80K gold and still be in this game, still even have a tier 2 up by the end of it, but that left tier 2 is going to fall quickly. Still these 2 Phoenixes. This may be where Smoke Break actually push the issue. But that's where my worry goes for Smoke Break. It's not this game, but the next one.
And actually, in this game currently, Smoke Break really doesn't have a ton of more spikes left in them. They've got fully maxed out Benko. We've got fully maxed out Sap. We've got fully maxed out Ekrom. Silenced has 1 more item left. Or sorry, 2 more items left. Johnny's got 2 more items left. But, I mean, all that's left for Benko and Ekrom is just 3K pots. So there is a slow down moment for Smoke Break where they're not going to get much stronger outside of like a 3K pot here or there. And Giovanni Giorgio is going to be continuously getting stronger. I do still have an issue with how Giovanni Giorgio is going to play this late game. I don't know how they're going to be able to kill the Raw or the Cernanos with the Emoja peeling. I don't know how the Zeus is going to be able to live Johnny and Benko's poke and dive. And then if Sap hits 1 ult late game, maybe he doesn't even have to hit like the biggest ult, maybe just on 1 person. He can kind of just outright win them the fight. And I like how Smoke Break drafted around this Zeus. Zeus is very scary when you're grouped up and you're fighting in like corridors and stuff like that. That's not what Smoke Break wants to do. Johnny wants to kind of poke. Sap wants to just look for ultimates. Silence is never really walking too far forward to be a threat for the Chain Lightning. So all Dardas can really do is ult. And this was not a first pick Zeus. This was a Zeus that was picked in the 3rd slot. He saw a little bit of the gods available, but I like how Smoke Break kind of rounded out their comp into this seemingly, I mean, best god, maybe top 2, 3 god in the entire meta in Zeus. I like what Smoke Break decided to draft.
Yeah, it certainly worked out really well for them, but again, the longer this goes, the more a question mark might start popping up of, look, Inbound, we casted a game last week where I think it was Bill's Goons. How long did they hold on defense in game 3, sitting underneath their Phoenix to get 1 wipe, and then they just avoid 2 tier 2s, go to the left Phoenix that they had taken down to win the game. Now, granted, all the tier 2s are still up. Even some tier 1s are still up for Smoke Break. That being said, though, Giovanni Giorgio, they are getting closer to that 80K mark now. They are getting closer to starting their final items. And it starts to become a question mark. If you can win one team fight here, that map all of a sudden doesn't look so one-sided. We'll see what happens as Nika looks for the bait, and it works.
And that looks a little funky, like Nika's kind of playing around, but that's just like good fundamentals right there. Just walking up, keeping the axe down just in case. But there's going to be a lot of damage on this by Smoke Break. I don't even think Giovanni Giorgio is going to be able to get here in time before this fire's dead.
Nope, it's going down. They're going to have to try to win after the fight if they even want to push it. Kha'Zix gets forced out quickly, tried to wall himself away, but still getting stunned. Body block, brutalized. Benko takes him down. First player off the table, and the first step to victory here in game one. Blink forced out by adapting, too scared of that Fenrir brutalized. I believe he popped that Ragnarok a little earlier, but either way, they'll go down, charge this right Phoenix, set up for the next fight. Dardes, the Lightning Storm in hand, just has to give up those Phoenixes, hoping that they can fight under the Titan at this point, as the last Phoenix will hold. The last two Phoenixes will hold for now, but that mid Phoenix will go down quickly. Nika trying to zone them out, tries to twirl it around. Got a little bit of action out there. Beast a little too early. Ragnarok comes regardless, and Ekrom will take the kill. The Searing Pain doesn't hit anybody, but you don't feel like it needs to at all. They'll regroup and reload here on the mid Phoenix, and they'll definitely take it down. Dardes and adapting, trying to hold as long as they can. Kha'Zix just respawning. Nika's down for a good bit. That left Phoenix gonna go down as well. 30 minutes in, Smoke Break. Now they're pushing their advantage. Less mistakes, but you still gotta be careful here. As Dardes alive, you got 4 players still up, and Nika still a long time. So this Phoenix should fall, and that will force the fight. But look behind! You weren't watching as Johnny comes, and Zap7 gets credit for the kill, but Johnny sets it all up, and Dardes just down. That's no more damage left on the side of Giovanni Giorgio. Crom takes another one. Kha'Zix down for the count, adapting. Nothing he can do about it. Game one goes to Smoke Break, and well, Giovanni Giorgio held on for as long as they could there inbound.
And really, outside of a few misplays here or there, yes, they were very big. That was just a dominant game by Smoke Break. They pushed their lead very well. Early game, they know exactly how they wanted to play each side of the map. Johnny would invade one side of the map, and then the next time not be there, and he'd invaded the other side of the map. It was just really good all-around macro by Smoke Break. And on top of that, really good Gold Furies. I would say really good Fire Giants, but they couldn't secure a Fire Giant until the last one. And it still just didn't matter. And when a game like that, where you make these misplays late game, and you're still pushing your lead thousands every minute, that is a big, big issue for Giovanni Giorgio. And I almost want to see like just a different draft from them, because this was just a outright impossible game for them to win if they fell behind. There was just nothing the Zeus could do, nothing the Emir could do. I mean, Adapting tried to do things, and yes, he did, but did it really matter in the end? Not really. There was just very little playmaking potential by this Giovanni Giorgio comp, and either one, you're switching up the comp, or two, you're playing the early game completely different. And better, too. You have to play it better.
I mean, look, we're talking about Giovanni Giorgio being eliminated, not even making it to LAN here in the first esports venture in SMITE 2. It'd be crazy to not see Adapting there. Smoke Break could pull off an upset here. They look pretty good, but can they keep it going? Can they hamper down those mistakes? Giovanni Giorgio don't go so quietly. Find out after the break.
She can let her hair down, but got her feet on the ground. I can't get enough of her. She can drive me so wild, just with that sweet smile, and there's nobody else for me. My heart starts racing every time I'm looking at her. She's my country girl. I couldn't tell you what she's doing to me. She's so damn out of my league. She's a little bit crazy on the weekends, dancing in her dress, and I love the way she looks in my eyes. And I'm feeling like midnight's getting closer, and I just wanna hold her in my arms till the sun comes up. She's a little bit country. Yeah, she's my country girl. She's a little bit country. Yeah, she's my Wouldn't lie to you, doesn't matter what I do. She's got a hold on me. Ha. She's a little bit crazy on the weekends, dancing in her red dress, and I love the way she looks in my eyes. And I'm feeling like midnight's getting closer, and I just wanna hold her in my arms till the sun comes up. She's a little bit country, yeah, she's my country girl. She's a little bit country, yeah, she's my country girl. Woo!
Immortals have invaded my realm, and my children rebel against me. Dark days these are. But my strength shall bring resolution, and my lightning, illumination! Zeus!
Bologna.
Anubis.
Scylla.
Kukulkan. Surtur.
If you want to pick up one of the best PCs in the universe, not just in looks, but also in performance, you can go over to starforgesystems.com and pick up the SMITE 2 PC, featuring poster child Zeus out on the front of the case, but on the inside you can change up which display you want. As you saw, there was Zeus, Anubis, Bologna, Scylla, Kukulkan, and Surtur. I think I got all the ones that were shown off
well
there.
Done.
And you can pick up one now. If you've already got a really beefy PC, You just want to get a new cool case, you can buy just the case on its own, or you can buy the full system. Again, you can go to starfordsystems.com/products/smite and pick up your case or your full PC today from Starford Systems. But make sure you're still tuning in right now, because game number 1, bit back and forth here, is kind of what I would say, because it felt way more back and forth than it really should have been, Charlie, because this is a game that Smokebreak got a really good early lead and kept building that lead. But they just kept making one small mistake at a time that was allowing Giovanni Giorgio to stay in the game. It was Thanatos Scythe to steal Fire Giant. Then it was Nika walking forward and pressing Sunder to steal Fire Giant. Finally, after the third one, they learned their lesson. They were able to secure it. But those tiny mistakes nearly kept costing them matchups.
Right. I think it was more dominant from Smokebreak for sure, comparatively. Like, it was back and forth, but I think it was Smokebreak's game to lose, right? All the issues that arose were from their misplays. You can say that Adapting played well to find the perfectly timed scythe. Yes, that's true, but standing in front of the death scythe stops that problem, right? Using your Sunder stops Nika from stealing. There were ways to make sure that those good plays from Giovanni Giorgio were not capitalized on. So yes, I do think that there was some positives here from GG's composition. Surprisingly, the Thanatos is one of the things that deserves to be hyped up. I've been very critical about the Zeus pick. I've still been roasting it. It's definitely not first pick worthy. I don't care what anyone says. I think Raw farms faster. He doesn't do as much damage, but what Sap 7 was able to provide was infinitely better than what Dardes was able to provide. I said Dardes is going to be focused out early. That's exactly what Johnny did. He looked to exploit that. One gank onto Dardes, pulls a relic. The second one gets a first blood, right? These are the kind of things that you have to watch out for when you put so much stock into the Zeus pick. And yes, the Thanatos looked decent stat-wise, but it wasn't as if Adapting could get going, right? He wasn't able to start this early trend of ganks. It was more so counter ganks that Adapting was really making his money. He was showing up after Johnny went in and getting some picks, but he really wasn't initiating too much because he wasn't really afforded that. There wasn't really a lane that was winning. Coast got a little bit of pressure with the Iza pick, but really not enough to try and carry the game away.
And there was one moment where Jorby and Inbound were kind of talking about the dynamic of that solo jungle combo from Smokebreak, where if you see that Benko's getting really far ahead, he'll turn into kind of the fake jungler and go make a rotation and just let Johnny catch up a little bit in that farm, and that's what's allowed them to really kind of catapult their lead. We'll have to see how things change up for GG and Smokebreak here in game number 2. Picks and bans ready to roll, and we'll see what changes, what adaptations do get made. It is tournament game on the line now. Giovanni Giorgio have to win this game to keep their chances of going to land alive. Smokebreak now 1 game away from being your third and final team to go to the In-Studio LAN in December. We'll start out with the Morgan ban on the side of Giovanni Giorgio, same thing that we saw last time, and then I believe it was Jing Wei on the side of Smokebreak, so we'll see if the bans repeat themselves. But it kind of has me going back to the first pick. We saw Chalk from Nika.
Yeah.
It did fine. It did a lot of damage, but it
so much
really
better.
didn't feel like it was first pick material like this Cernanos is for GG instead.
That's so much better. And that's already a night and day difference because they want to play through Coast. Giovanni Giorgio has shown that. Dardes wants to sit in AFK farm. They want to play through Coast. And you got to get Coast on something that is play-through worthy. And at this point, the Iza wasn't it. Cern, I think, makes a lot more sense. There are still better solo laners to grab. Unfortunately, letting Loki through is scary. That's one of the things that I'm not upset about, is letting the Chalk through. Oh well. Nika has other guys he can perform on. Giving Johnny back to the Loki, definitely scary. They're checking all the boxes for me, man. This is what I'm talking about. They needed the Cern, take the Raw away from Sap 7, get Dardes on something that is safer, provides more utility, and can still do good, safe damage. Night and day difference for me. I love this draft.
It really feels like they're just taking all of what Smokebreak had, like roster and picks wise, just grabbing it for themselves. Even the Finra
draft
and push it somewhere else. And pushing somewhere else is in their court now. So it's up to GG to make their adaptations with these 3 picks. It will be Yamoja and On Her on the opposite side now for Smokebreak, which leaves the final 2 picks for GG. Where this Finra goes is still up in the air. I think now a little less so. That takes out one of the 3 roles potentially here, with Nuwa being locked in. Raw solo seems to be what is on the table. And with the Bacchus drafted in, it does appear this Fenrir will be pushing itself over towards the jungle for the side of GG.
I do like the Raw solo. you know, it gives Nika something different to play up into. You're going to outclear the chalk every step of the way, right? You're going to walk up to lane at level 2 and just full clear and say, what are you going to do about it? Like, you cannot contest Raw's clear at the moment. You max your second ability, you auto-attack the wave down, then you leave. You go farm elsewhere. That's the benefit. You can match Yemoja's sustain for your team. You are still killable, for sure. You're probably not going to get Phantom Shell. I've learned that every team in the world has written off Phantom Shell. That's a useless relic against Yemoja, so you're going to be feeling the brunt of the River's Rebuke, but you don't have to worry about a Fenrir that's on your side this time. You just have to worry about the CC from Chalk, the CC from Loki, and of course the damage from Anubis. Definitely a scary pick to go up into. Anubis is still one of those characters that can take a game and just run from it, but you're also standing still and you can get sniped, you can get Nuwab bursted down, you can get shredded by CERN. There are ways to try and kill the Anubis. Anti-heal is going to be so prevalent though. Every single person on Smoke Break has some form of sustain or lifesteal that they're going to be building into.
That kind of was the age-old of Anubis and other gods like him, you know, go into the ultimate. Before it was also his first ability, you know, go into, you get this long channel, and you're just kind of sitting there. So you just play something that can outrange it and go for, you know, a snipe like a Raw, or maybe you drop a Kraken under his feet or something like that. We'll have to see if GG has found the adaptation that they need to try and bring this set back. We'll jump right in to game number 2.
Smoke Break 1 game away from qualifying for LAN. Giovanni Giorgio on their tournament point here. And push comes to shove, they stole some picks inbound, but more importantly for me, Raw Solo has finally entered the arena against this Chalk. Oh boy, this should be interesting. Oh, inbound, you are muted.
Well,
there you go.
I still think Raw Solo is one of the strongest solo laners that you can have, especially during the laning phase. I think it scales very well also. A lot of what Raw does well is he just relies on procs. I know you and I we've seen it before. We got to talk about it. I got to ramble about it because I love rambling about it. The character is just very hard to deal with when he is allowed to just play the 1v1. If you gank him, you have to gank him rather early so you can slow him down and kind of put him behind. Because if he is even, that means he will be ahead in no time because he just out-farms you and he will just out-1v1 you. But enough about Raw. There's a few other things that I think are really interesting. Kha'Zix's finally on something a little bit more aggressive. I like him on this Bacchus instead of that Ymir again, and I like Coast on this CERN. This provides them a lot of duo lane, not necessarily clear. Their clear is fine, but they have really good fight potential. And if there is a flop that's found, or if there is a stun that's found with the burp, the silence could die or Ekrom could die, so there's a lot of pressure over there. But a little bit of a mess around on the right side. Benko looking for that same invade and adapting instead of allowing him to do that, just decides to chunk him to half health. And now with this, we will see Nika actually being able to farm the red buff and then going to the blue buff. And this is a much better start already for Giovanni Giorgio.
Yeah, that's exactly how you want to start. Try to put this Chalk behind as early as possible, and I mean, you can get that Raw front line going as quickly as you can. That is definitely a potential win con with what we've seen and be able to dish out. And it's that Raw 2 that is so deadly that procs makes your basics proc abilities are ability types on items anyway. But here's this duo lane again. You're getting the Porsche Coast on the CERN, like you said, very important. Trelly said it as well. You know, they want this team to run through Coast. We saw what he did on CERN in the last match. And so you talked about for Giovanni Giorgio, hang on a second, it might get caught a little bit here. Aegis Force adapting, comes through, has the brutalize, might turn this one around, and you're in some trouble now. Johnny thought he had it, and well, Johnny found out.
And on top of that, there was a kill in duo lane. So we have a 2-for-0 for Giovanni Giorgio, a much better start comparatively to the last game. And this is what you kind of wanted to see. After last game where Giovanni Giorgio really did nothing the entire early portion of the game, and actually middle portion also, we have them getting aggressive in duo lane, dashing in, trying to take the fight. Silenced was still level 1, and they still looked for that. They looked for that because he was level 1, and then they made that play in mid lane because a little bit of an over chase onto Dardas, who got a really nice Aegis off. And then what adapting has kind of been able to do in last game and in this game, he's almost always just where he needs to be. It was a really good timed rotation. The tracking for the Loki, looking for that kill, it was just all really good play, and it gets Giovanni Giorgio into a much better spot And with this early lead, they have a really easy chance to snowball this game because there's really nothing that can be done over on solo side of the map. And with Dardes on this Nuwa, it's almost the same idea of what you can do with Ra in mid lane and Cern in ADC, where you just pull the Gold Fury, have the Nuwa minions tank it, have Cernanos in melee range, and just kind of do as much damage as possible. And then you have pretty solid secure with Nuwa 3 blowing up the minions. So really good damage, and Ikram dead again in left lane. Jorby, doesn't this just look so much better for Giovanni Giorgio? Like, where's this been?
I mean, it really was. Maybe getting Coast on that Cern gives them a little more confidence to get aggressive. And look at this, too, adapting on the Fenrir. Doing a lot of damage early on. It certainly flipped, but Dardes in a little bit of trouble. Nothing adapting could do to help. Johnny said, well, Dardes, you should have got out of there, buddy. You thought I couldn't do the damage? You're wrong. And now adapting has to turn. And that's a huge kill for Johnny in mid. Helps him get caught back up here. And, I mean, we see Chalk under tower. You're going to be seeing that a lot over here. Notice that Nika is hanging on to that Divine Light purely for fights against the Chalk and just relying on his Celestial Beam and the Solar Blessing to help clear that lane. Either way, you're not going to have a good time there. Is there a world inbound where you swap lanes, like where Sap goes over to that solo lane, you try, and then Chalk goes mid? It's like any world where like something like that would happen. Probably not in this match, but you got to think this is just a huge mismatch on this solo lane.
I actually think that is a pretty decent call. I think Anubis at this point has a strong enough laning phase versus the Raw. Like, you're not going to outmatch the Raw, but you'll farm evenly with him. You won't get shoved under. Chalk can farm safe enough in mid against this Nuwa. I actually don't think it's the worst idea. I think the big issue comes to if that happens and a fight around, you know, like Gold Fury happens, Chalk's going to take a lot longer to farm that middle wave, and he's maybe not going to be able to rotate to the Gold Furies as quickly as a god like Nuwa, who kind of just insta-clears waves. So there would be some potential to it, and I don't think it's a bad idea. I don't think teams really want to also send like an Anubis over to solo lane that's not designated to be there, because if you kind of leave the Anubis over there, he dies like one time, his game might be kind of ruined. If he's playing in mid lane, if you get like one Wrap or one Loki ult or one Yamoja stun, you can kind of kill whoever. Chalk doesn't have that same threat. So if you want to just play a super safe, farm it out solo lane, I think just keeping Chalk over here is good. I also think with this early game so far, Anubis is one of the few parts of Smoke Break's comp that, you know, is kind of threatening right now. So keeping him around, you know, Gold Fury fight or a 3v3 fight, I think would be wise. But I think lane swapping as a whole could be used a little bit more.
Oh, well, there's the Goop Assault. Sap absolutely melts, adapting, and River's Rebuke out as well, forcing an ult out of Dardes to be able to escape this. You have the minions to help block a little bit, even get the stun off, but you get wrapped. Aegis to survive. Johnny's just gonna sit right in front of you. He does not care. Johnny gets another kill onto Dardes here. Keeps getting picked on in that mid lane. And they look at least into that left jungle. After you get the mid laner down on Nuwa, maybe you have something available here, but Smoke Break dealing with the early aggression from Giovanni Giorgio. They've started to get aggressive in that mid lane again. A lot of focus on Dardes. Granted, you're not on the Zeus this time, right? But getting the Nuwa down. And now, you're going to find out here, Johnny. It's going to be real tough to burn through that Gladiator's shield. And here's the... Oh, you just got seared into oblivion. No escape for Johnny.
No way.
Divine Light available again. Look how much damage he's pumping out. Nika, absolutely dominant there. The Jap's just here to clean up. Storm call? What call?
And that is just a disaster for Smoke Break there. Look for that kill in Nika. Nika's getting that proxy off, but just not close enough is Benko. And you see Gladiator Shield in that gank. It allows him to just live the entire gank and also just do a ton of damage in return. We have no ult for Johnny, so Johnny has really nothing to reposition himself. Hard CC Nika to allow Benko to catch up, and then Johnny just takes so much damage before Benko can get there that Nika's able to just clean up with the ultimate. And what a clean ult that was. Good rotation by adapting to also get the kill onto Benko. And this is now exploding the solo lane, which is what you want with this Raw. A Raw with a lead with this build is impossible to deal with. He just runs around, does whatever he wants. He can threaten anyone. The worry that I have with this Raw, though, is usually you go double defense, double physical defense, and this Anubis is becoming a bit of an issue with how big he's getting, with how good the early game has been for him. I mean, he's already got the book. He's going to be getting that second item online around the same time as the Raw. So if he goes for like a double defense, it's usually like a Phoenix Shield. There's a big worry there.
There's another ult. See how much damage it's doing to Dardes. Will survive for now, but Johnny's in the area as well, adapting, trying to help out with a Ragnarok. Dardes simply cannot escape the Anubis. Sap will go down. Can adapt to get a trade. He has to avoid a wrap and a slow rotation. Where in that left lane was thought about, but they will stay off of it for now. Coast and Kazakhs gonna stay away from it. I mean, you talk about that Anubis being a threat. What's your, if you're not going to build Shield of the Phoenix second item, if you are Nika, what are you thinking about? Like a Genji's Guard, or what's your favorite magical item on this Raw for if he ends up being that factor that has to help against this Anubis?
I think Talisman of Purification is just perfect for a game like this. If he ever gets wrapped, he can just then use that immunity. If he ever gets hit by Emoja Stun, he can also just purify that. And really the only worry is if he gets hit by a CC and then takes the entire Anubis ult charge with the 3. Outside of that, I don't really see a spot where he's dying. But I also don't mind at all him going for the Shield of the Phoenix. He just has to kind of know where this Anubis is, because that is the only person who can kill him. Nobody else can. Even if they rotate, you know, silenced Johnny and Benko over there to try to kill him, Nika should be able to live that with this Phoenix Shield. The only worry is if you're not tracking Sap. Sap is a massive problem for killing anyone. Killing Gold Furies, killing Pyromancers when they're up. That is who you need to track if you are Giovanni Giorgio.
No Gold Fury has fallen yet either. This game is still balancing on the edge. We've seen some advantage from Nika in that solo lane, but we were talking about in mid, Dardes has not had a good time here. Adapting, a lot of his focus has been forced into mid lane just because of Johnny being over here. And they just haven't had that kind of success. Searing Pain. You maybe get a little bit there. I think they got it actually with the Searing Pain. Either way, it doesn't matter. Just a little bit of gold, a little bit of XP. Continuing to farm up here.
And with how far behind Dardes is at this point, there's really no threat with this Nua. This Nua in most fights is going to be rather useless. And I think that makes adapting also being level 8 a really big issue. The surviving part of the duo side is Coast and Kazakhs are still in a really good spot. Even though they got those early kills though, they really haven't pushed their lead at all. I mean, Ikram is the same level. Silence is the same level as his counterpart. He actually just took a lead over Kazakhs. I wanted to see a Gold Fury pulled by Smoke Break, because I think that's the side of the map that they are strong on. But I think they're just still a little worried about, you know, if we lose this fight over here and Nika stomping the other side of the map, is the game just over? But we've kind of seen what happens as teams just do nothing, and Silence going to be looking for maybe an ult on Kazakhs.
As the Rivers rebuke up, you're going to get caught, and there's absolutely no way Kazakhs was getting out of that one. Now you got to hope that Coast and Adapting can clean it up. You have a little bit of effort there with the Ragnarok, but also the Anubis beam you got to be careful of. Root. And what a stun there from Dardes, saving the day for Adapting, living within an inch of his life. Vapor's Coast will sit here under tower while you don't get a trade. You do survive further damage being done. Meanwhile, the opposite story. Divine Light forces the quick retreat there, and that's about the story. That's going to be a real tough lane in general on that side. Benko not having a good time. Smoke Break will take that Gold Fury, though, on the other side. So despite everything else that was going right here for Giovanni Giorgio, the objective control, which hadn't really come into effect yet, no one had really went and contested the Gold Fury. Smoke Break sneak away the first one.
And I think this is like an issue with how Giovanni Giorgio's been playing. Nika's really the only person that's doing well on the side of Giovanni Giorgio, and Smoke Break does exactly what they needed to do. They force on the duo side of the map before Nika's the one that's able to set up, because if this Raw backs, maybe gets a tier 2 magical defense item so he doesn't get one shot, or just gets something to live the Anubis damage, that'll allow him to just make a rotation and play for the Gold Fury. But instead of, you know, allowing Nika to set the rotation, we're just going to take this 4v4 where we have this level 13 Anubis who can one-shot anyone, and we're going to force the fight there. And Benko's kind of doing exactly what he needs to do here. He's getting beat up, don't get me wrong. Nika's probably done 10,000 damage at this point, and Benko's
Only
probably
one
done
level
6.
down, though.
Yeah, he's exactly where he needs to do, but this is exactly what you need to see from Benko. Just keep Nika in lane. Nika's not doing anything with his lead.
Adapting in some trouble as well here with a large grouping over towards those mid camps. I mean, Nika, again, going to get all those Glad Shield and Shield of the Phoenix ability procs off. Shield of the Phoenix is one where, you know, you get some of your health back with every single hit on that Divine Light. So, you know, not only are you doing extra damage because of that Divine Light with the Gladiator Shield, but you're also healing for a percentage of your max health, which you start building a couple more health items, it becomes a little more difficult. You really are looking towards Sap, aren't you, to be this turning point for Smoke Break. And granted, Smoke Break doing good job, you know, balancing the duo lane, right? Vaporish Coast and Kha'Zix, they haven't really had their way over there, as you pointed out earlier. And then this may come down to, can Giovanni Giorgio actually play these objectives, because they can't give away. I mean, that's like 4 free Gold Furies that Smoke Break have gotten if you include game 1. They have to start contesting these because they've played a much better early game. But now, you know, the lead isn't really big at all. I mean, it's not even a lead for Smoke Break in the gold, but it's helped keep them even, where Giovanni Giorgio should be starting to stack that lead. So objective control becoming more of a point of issue for Giovanni Giorgio still, as Nika was going for the buff steal, will have to leave.
On top of kind of what's been happening so far, my big worry with this Giovanni Giorgio comp is that they're very reliant on Nika in these fights. Dardes is far behind, Adapting's far behind, and Kha'Zix and Coast are just fine. If we're gonna see these 4v4s on the left side, we've already seen it one time. Smoke Break will dominate. So it really is, Nika needs to rotate, or they need to fight around Nika, which is probably the better option. Fight around Nika on this Pyromancer, on that tier 1 tower and right, because so far, I mean, again, Nika's dominating this lane, but Benko doesn't care. Benko's fine with just farming it out here, maybe losing a little bit. We really need to see Giovanni Giorgio fighting with Nika, otherwise they're going to slowly bleed out like they did last time. They're going to be farming out in mid lane. I mean, this is definitely a different game than last game, don't get me wrong. Smoke Break doesn't have the massive lead that they have, but why are we just letting the game happen in front of us? Giovanni Giorgio's not doing anything. Pyromancer done in front of them, Gold done in front of them. Like, Jorby, we have to start seeing something by Giovanni Giorgio.
I don't really understand what's going on with some of the calls here, because they know that they're on them, but it was only Dardes there to combat the Pyromancer. Very confusing. I do think that it is interesting. They haven't given a ton of attention over here. Like, Adapting was in the grass, just back. Johnny's coming over right now as, well, Nika's taking it down. Even in a 2v1, you're going to have to do a lot of work. That's a lot of damage done, and Storm call out as well, but you have the CC as well. Ra will survive slowly, but surely. Eventually you're going to get died, but look how much damage he's doing. No support is coming. Just kidding. Here's the dog. Fenrir comes out, boxes it out. Nika survives, showing you the sustain that those first 2 items helped give him alongside his inbuilt heals. And Nika will not die despite having 2 commit against him.
I mean, like, why am I watching Nika 1v2 off of cooldown or 1v1 off of cooldown? Why are we not making plays around this Ra? I mean, his lead isn't even there anymore, Jorby. The 2-level lead, actually, he's behind.
It's gone,
Jorby,
yeah.
He was just up like 2 levels, and now he is behind. We are not making plays correctly. Our team fights and where we're fighting is not good. Are we going to lose a Gold Fury for free now, too? Or is this where we finally contest and rotate Nika over?
It's an early Anub Assault. Still a ton of damage going to be popped out. Kha'Zix waiting for Adapting as well. They unleash it, and it's actually taken by the Nuwa minions. Dardes actually holds that health. That's not good, though, for Giovanni Giorgio. They're going to give it right back. No, they got it. A risky play for sure. The minions almost cost that Gold Fury for Giovanni. Johnny will kill Dardes for it, but you'll take it if you're Giovanni Giorgio.
And I mean, just a weird play. I mean, Dardes drops the minions, they tank it. Risky, they somehow end up getting it. But I mean, like, again, yes, they got something good, but Nika's not even at that fight. So even if a fight actually does happen, like, you get the Gold Fury, yes, but you lose Dardes. So that value you get from the Gold Fury is now your mid laner not farming again, dying again. The enemy, Anubis, level 16, gonna be level 17. There's nobody here. There's nobody here. This is on Kha'Zix to get a steal.
Yeah, that's gonna be a tough ask for sure. You don't have anything available to get a cheeky Sunder steal either. You'll try to burp on him, and you get wrapped, and yeah, you don't get it. It will go to Smoke Break. Honestly, a well-timed ult there, but Kha'Zix actually gonna get a little bit of help. Now Nika has rotated around with Adapting. sticking on him with the brutalized. Nika has the searing pain, and Johnny's feeling it. Benko takes Kha'Zix down, but Nika's the real tank here. Sitting in front of Benko. Also got Coast, who gets wrapped from behind. He's in some trouble, has to bull rush his way out. And this is still not the greatest look here for Smokebreak, as well, Sap is losing a lot of health. Nika wants to push it, seeing what he's got, having all this health. Everyone forced out on their CC. Ikram gets from behind and actually takes Adapting down and pushes Nika back a little bit, uses the pillar, and Ikram's done his job. He just wants to leave. And again, another weird fight. Giovanni, Giorgio, they don't get the Fire Giant. They tried to team wipe or get as many bodies down, and they only found Johnny.
It really is, in this game, if Nika's at a fight, let's just not take the fight. As soon as Nika kind of shows up, they like, you know, mess around a little bit. But at the end of the day, as soon as Nika's the one there, they just give up the fight and they say, we don't really want to fight with this guy. We want to fight with the other guys on the other side of the map. Because again, Giovanni Giorgio really only has Nika doing like anything. Like Coast is fine. He's not dying, but he's down 2 levels. They're losing Fire Giants. They lost that first Gold Fury. This is an even game in the sense of, you know, XP is pretty even, gold's pretty even. But if you look at how the map is being played and how each of these teams are playing, I would be very surprised if this even goes to a game 3. This is just bad play all around by Giovanni Giorgio. We're not fighting around Nika. We're taking bad fights or we're not taking fights anywhere else. And they're taking good fights on the opposite side of Nika. It's just not good plays by Giovanni Giorgio. And this is not what you expect from a team that was the number 2 seed coming into this, Jorby.
And I mean, great job on the map control too from Smokebreak. I mean, you're taking it to a team that has so much experience on it. Team that you have players that have gone to LAN, that have done the thing, right? And I mean, bringing it to them like this. Johnny is in some trouble here for Coast. Has to use Assassinate just to leave. But I mean, this is a huge chance for Smokebreak, who you're about to take down here if you can keep it up. I mean, it will be no small win for them at all. And having to fight from lower round 2, granted, Giovanni Giorgio had to fight from lower round 2 as well, but they came in as the number 2 seed in the bracket. They got upset by Bill's Goons. You still kind of expect them to run through that lower bracket. They did. Smokebreak, though, had to fight from the same point. They are not the same type of team that Giovanni Giorgio is. They kind of snuck it, and here they are bringing it to them. They could eliminate the 2 seed from making LAN right here.
Actually, finally looking to start to do something, and this is like the first advantageous fight they're starting.
Maybe they can actually get the kill. A fight under the dead Fire Giant. Searing Pain will find the mark. You can see how much little damage it does, because how he's building is a melt. As Adapting will get credit for the kill on Sap, and now they can keep going. That's a lot of damage on the board for Smokebreak. They'll jump down. Coast gets a kill. Finally, something goes right for Giovanni Giorgio. And maybe they could get the rest of them here. Silence trying to juke him, but Benko is still alive, and Coast goes down. Trying to push the issue, trying to keep the healing up. Kha'Zix takes down Silence. Crom will get Kha'Zix in return. They get some trades. It's a 2 for 3. Giovanni Giorgio on top of that for now, but it might be a 2 for 4 here quickly, unless Benko can get out. Looks like he will. And now Giovanni Giorgio want to take their winnings and get out.
Who would have thought fighting around Nika, even when the enemy team has Fire Giants, leads to a win? Nika is not dropping health at all. All they need to do is wait for Nika at a fight, and they will win that fight. Unfortunately, that is the first time we've actually seen them team fight. In a fight like that, Coast is the one that's actually casting and doing a lot of the damage. Nika's doing, you know, more harass damage and slowly kind of death by 1,000 cuts, who's ever he's hitting. But Coast is the real threat damage. If Nika's able to just walk forward like that and not die, especially if they get this pick onto Sap, it is just over for the fight. And that's what we need to see from Giovanni Giorgio more. We need to see them fighting around Nika. And again, they started that fight. That might have been the first time in both of these games, Jorby, that we've seen them start a fight. And it was around Nika, and they won it. If they are going to fight, it needs to be exactly that again.
Surely that gives them the confidence. You know, there might be another team fight brewing over here. Nika's on the other side in solo lane for now. And everyone just kind of farming up, dancing around each other. Another Gold Fury is up. Stolen last time by Giovanni Giorgio in a really tight one. Smokebreak will start it. We'll see what kind of vision they get. Everybody's starting to move over. Nika's over here as well, and that Gold Fury hasn't been started. You know, it looks like everyone will pull off. Maybe they want that team fight first, but if Smokebreak feels like they've pulled off, they may just go and take it again. They have Sap up They can burst it, but it will be a close one for sure. So instead, they'll opt to get that Naga. And now they will go over and start that Gold Fury. That should start the fight. Nico will lead the charge. Coast coming over as well. How do they take it? Gold Fury's already halfway down. Coast trying to peel it away. If Smokebreak don't want to fight it, as that gets unleashed. A little bit of health renewed on the Gold Fury. Who's going to actually aggress here first? I mean, look, Giovanni Giorgio have the advantage in the tankiness. Nika could just walk up there with a little bit of support like Benko's doing right here to try to zone them out. And look, this Gold Fury health is still sitting at half. They still keep it leashed. Look how far off Giovanni Giorgio are. And slowly that Gold Fury is dropping. They want to make a move, but nobody wants to move forward at all. You have so many people to dive. You try Searing Pain, but that's not going to get the damage done. They're just going to give it up. Smokebreak basically get it for free. Giovanni Giorgio didn't want to move forward. Scared out of their pants here.
And it's just an overall really good play there by Smokebreak. They pull it originally as Benko's getting a ward on Fire Giant as a just in case. They realize, okay, this is a 5v4, let's play this slow. And then they have Benko rotate over, walk forward really far. Johnny's pushing down mid waves, so they have pressure in mid. And then eventually they just get zoned out by the Chalk 3. He just throws down that rain. There's a lot of zoning potential with it, and then really nobody wants to walk through it. And I think we see the one weakness with this Giovanni Giorgio comp is if Kha'Zix doesn't want to jump in and start fights or walk up and start fights, there's really no fight potential in fight starting with Giovanni Giorgio. Nika's not really walking up to be a threat because, again, the one threat on the enemy team is this Anubis. He will get shredded by the Anubis, and Nika has to keep that in mind. If these games go longer, if these games kind of get to that level 20 full builds, it's not going to get any easier for Nika because Anubis just shreds you. However, the farther this game goes, the longer this game goes for Giovanni Giorgio, the more effective the other four get. Like this, adapting is only 18. So the longer this game goes, the more effective he'll be. We still only have a level 18 Nuwa. We only have a 5-item, excuse me, Coast. There is still a lot of gold that Giovanni Giorgio wants to get. So I don't mind them playing a little bit slower. Especially when Nika's not as strong as he was in that earlier fight. There is threat. If they're not picking sap, he can die. So I don't mind giving that up. I just need to see them grouped up and taking 5v5s though. Fire Giant's getting pulled again.
Yeah, they're gonna start it again. The objective game from Smokebreak has been excellent. This time Kha'Zix will stand up a little taller. Sap sitting right there with the wrap. Actually missed the wrap, and Benko's here just zoning everybody out. Coast can't do anything. He's getting harassed by Johnny. Thanks to the Storm Call, helping to silence him out. Now Johnny will get out. Searing Pain does a little bit of damage, but they got to find a way to get in there. Everyone off the Fire Giant now. Smokebreak feel confident they can push the issue. Johnny forces adapting out on the fight through the mid lane, and everybody's still in that right jungle as well for Giovanni Giorgio. They'll dive back for a little bit. Pyromancer just may be taken, but this may be the fight that Giovanni Giorgio won. You said it, Nico has to be real careful with Sap sitting right there. One wrap and he's dead. Have to come off of Kha'Zix. As adapting, you see he's not doing as much damage as he wants to that Loki, and now you just get caught a little bit. Kha'Zix forced to belly flop his way out. Benko just throwing the axe at him. And, well, he will survive, but barely, and that may be the one for Smokebreak to start the Fire Giant. No Searing Pain kill onto Ekrom. He will survive. And everyone's still staying in the area at least. You got Dardes and Nika here to force this back, but these like slow, awkward fights. No one wanting to get caught out of position. Everyone waiting for that one overextension from either team. And I mean, neither team has really overextended in any way on these team fights.
And it seems like Smokebreak is just playing these team fights exactly how they need to. A little bit of poke onto Coast and then an all in after. But a pause on that, we got another Fire Giant pull. Ekrom's in mid.
Maybe they can get the steal, though. Everyone starts coming through. Benko's here as well. And they get it. Storm Call to drop it. Get some silence. And the Fire Giant, hard to see from this angle, as Nika's in some trouble. Forced to beads out, but can't escape it. Nika. Kha'Zix going down. Adapting. Eliminated. And it is a Fire Giant for Smokebreak again. And everybody turning tail and running. Dardes and Coast, the last two alive.
And it's just a disaster. Just a sloppy Fire Giant pull right there. Kind of talks about this entire set with that play right there. The timing is just off. And now 3 dead. They're going to be pushing through middle. Dardes is never going to be able to back. There is a very true possibility that this game is over. And that's the last team fight we're going to be able to see.
Well, well, well. Smoke break. How about it? Giovanni Giorgio go down the lowers to Bill Goons. The 2 seed in EMEA eliminated by Smoke Break, who qualified for LAN. How about it?
And that is just an overall really good set by Smoke Break. They did exactly what they needed to do with all of their comps, with all of their fights. They realized that, like, if we don't fight on this Raw, if we just fight on the other side, ignore the Raw in most fights and not take fights around him, we will just win. And that's exactly what happened. And then it led to Giovanni Giorgio kind of forcing a Fire Giant fight, which was a 5v5 that they took a lot of damage on. It was just an overall really weird series by Giovanni Giorgio. It doesn't strike me as a team that was the number 2 seed. They made a lot of missteps, a lot of misplays, and they weren't really ever on the same page. But I mean, enough about them. Smoke Break is here. That was a dominant set by Smoke Break, front to back. Very few mistakes other than like a Fire Giant stolen here or there. That is what you kind of expected to see from a team that will be going to LAN.
I mean, really impressive stuff. You lose that solo lane early, but then you focus down Dardes in mid. He can't do anything. And I mean, even Becca, I'm not going to say you like hard lost that lane. You stayed almost level for level with Nika that whole time, and he had a huge effect near the end of the game several times. But I want to know what J-Mac and Trelly thought of that one. Smokebreaker headed the LAN.
That's right. Smoke Break, your third and final team going to the EMEA section of the in-studio LAN. I almost said the playoffs. We're already done with the playoffs, at least in qualification standards go, because Smoke Break has done it. And it didn't look easy, at least at the beginning. GG put up a really strong fight.
Yep.
Nika on the Raw solo was doing really good things, but when you build Raw solo the way that Nika does, he's not really the one dealing damage. And then
Right.
Dardes isn't really getting a whole lot done on the new wall, Viporch Coast, even though he's able to get some 1v1s that work out well for him. It's just not enough when the full team of Smokebreak are grouping together at these team fights.
Exactly. That's what really it looked like to me as well. The fact that Smokebreak was just playing like a well-oiled machine, whereas Giovanni Giorgio was playing a little bit scattered. It didn't seem like they had a cohesive plan in mind. And when they did realize, like, oh, when we fight as a unit and we fight with Nika, we look real solid, it ends up with GG just saying, hey, we've got Runic Bombs and we have Raw Snipe. Let's go for Fire Giant. They go for it. They don't confirm it. They lose Kha'Zix. They lose Nika. They lose Adapting, who almost kills Johnny. And then it's just, let's just walk in and end. At that point, it's a 5v2, and Dardes is getting chased by Benko for the rest of the game. I mean, you got to give props to Smokebreak because they are a team that looked real solid at the beginning. And then I would say, like, week 3 to 2 weeks ago, it was kind of wishy-washy with them, right? They were still the top 4 of Founders Series, but they weren't that consistent number 2 by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, they were falling down every once in a while. So the fact that they were able to tighten up this way just clearly shows they were putting in the hours. They were putting in the work. This is a team that has really improved in my eyes, and they're definitely deserving of a LAN spot.
And this also just shows that this is a team that's not fazed by losses whatsoever. I mean, okay, sure, we lose to somebody in early rounds. Now we got to go through losers bracket. No worries. We're just going to keep going. We lose someone in the Swiss bracket. No worries. We just keep going. We just keep trucking forward until we eventually find those wins, and they find the wins where they matter. And players like Benko, like Johnny, Isance, Ikram, these are guys that have been in this situation multiple times over the course of their competitive career. When you look back at the history of SMITE 1, these are players who were just barely out of SPL range, but they're at the top of their SCC time, and they knock out some of those bottom end SPL teams to make it to a world championship stage. Multiple times it has happened, and now we're going to get to see Deathwalker a third time, or Benko in this case, by this name, a third time going to at least a LAN style of setting, but still has to go a little bit further if he wants to make it to the Vegas stage. But with a performance like this and with the tenacity this team has shown, even being able to drop down to take some early losses but come back on the hard wins like these really does give a lot of confidence to maybe some of the earlier Smokebreak fans who were like, yeah, these guys are like right there. Like, these guys are like one of the top teams. They're now showing it here even in this lower bracket run. Exactly.
They're putting in the hours, and that's the thing. Meta has been shifting so much. You got to remember, when this tournament started, we were like 8 gods less, I have to. I'm just going off the top of my head, I'm guessing, but it was something similar, maybe even more, honestly, at this point. There has been a lot of changes, a lot of meta shifts throughout since the Founders Series began, and you have to be able to shift with that meta, right? You got to learn, oh, this is now, like Raw solo wasn't even a conversation. Raw wasn't in the game when this series started. Now, you got to be able to adapt to it. And not only were Smoke Break like, okay, hold on, this raw solo's kind of cooking, they were able to find some answers to what Nika was doing. He died once. Nika did put up a heck of a performance, but at the end of the day, it was just that Fire Giant play towards the end. I think if Smoke Break was able to just start the fight cleanly, it would have went in their favor anyways. But the fact that GG was the ones who started the fight, and then the Fire Giant doesn't go their way, and they take a lot of damage towards it, things went on their way.
And with it, Smoke Break get themselves a Game 2 victory, a set win over Giovanni Giorgio, and they find themselves as the third and final team representing EMEA at the in-studio LAN. And we've been talking a lot about some of the players on this team, a lot of the careers of them, and one of the more storied careers of their players is their solo laner, Benko, who we actually have standing by for our post-game interview to kind of talk with him and get his thoughts, as to maybe, what was going on the team. Deathwalker, are you able to hear me?
Yeah. Hello.
Hey, first off, congratulations on making it to the in-studio LAN. What's it like for your team? How's everybody feeling after a big victory today?
Oh, everybody was actually really pumped. I haven't heard that kind of excitement in a while from winning a set. It's the first time Sap's actually gonna show up to LAN as well, which is really, really exciting. I think just good vibes all around. Everybody's super happy, and I think a lot of us maybe didn't even expect to qualify with how it kept looking at sometimes, but yeah, we're feeling real good.
All right, Deathwalker, I got a question for you. Do you have your suit ironed and tailored, ready to go?
Not only do I have my suit ready to go, but I will also try and convince my whole team to bring one. So.
Well, that's going to be an exciting one.
So tell me kind of about the how the team was feeling, dropping down into maybe the lower bracket and having to kind of make this run. Is that a situation that you guys maybe expect yourselves to be in, dropping down to the lower end? Were you guys maybe thinking you could have coached your way up to the top end of the bracket?
We absolutely expected to go to loser bracket. In fact, we all were 100% positive we were going to losers bracket because we were on the same bracket as Team Risk, and as we all know, that team is just unbeatable. So I went into this tournament hoping that loser bracket is best of 3. That was like my first barrier that I had to cross. Once I found out it was best of 3, it was a relief. Because then we could just easily lose to Team Risk, as we always have, and then, play against some of these easier teams for once.
Hey, well, may have taken the early loss, but you're able to come out with a big win at the end. Deathwalker, congratulations on making it to the LAN. I'll let you get back and celebrate with your team, and we'll see you in just a couple of weeks at the studio.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Always funny, hearing it's just like, did you guys expect to drop down? It's just like, absolutely. Most teams are like, no, we thought we could fight hard. He's like, no, we're dropping down, and we're going to have to work for this one just because we're against Team Risk. And I think that's the question now that a lot of teams have to really think about is, what do we do now to stop Team Risk at the in-studio LAN? What do we do to stop Team Risk, whether it be from the EMEA players or what could be the future NA players that are going to be playing tomorrow? What are those guys thinking of to try and defeat those number one teams? And I'm sure similar questions are going to be asked about Cowabunga for the North American side of things too. But we've got your bracket, so you can see everything that has happened so far this weekend. We technically still have one more set to go. You'll notice up there in the finals, we don't have a score just yet on the winner's side. Well, that is a seeding match here between Team Risk and Mockingbird. We're going to see which one comes out to be the number 1 seed, which one's going to be number 2. And then we know here, with Smoke Breaks 2-0 over Giovanni Giorgio, they are your third and final team and your third seed coming out of the EMEA region. Which means that we've got everybody locked in now for this region. Just got to figure out what their seeding is going to be, and then tomorrow we got to figure out who all of the North American squads are going to be. But that doesn't mean that we're stopping here. We still are going to be jumping into these finals, so make sure you stick around to see if maybe Mockingbird has what it takes to try and put a dent in Team Risk's record.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure Mockingbird is just celebrating at this point. Like, bro, we made it to LAN. Sure, we're up against Team Risk, but at the end of the day, you have to be able to beat everyone if you want to be the biggest champion. So getting able to pick your team is certainly a benefit because, again, just because you made it to the in-studio LAN does not mean you're going to Vegas. You have to also qualify there, which is still a big deal. So getting that top placement, being able to pick is still very important, of course. But I wouldn't be surprised if Mockingbird's like, you know what, we're good. We made it. You guys can have first seed. It's going to be competitive, though, of course. You better stay tuned.
And another thing to really take into account here is there's supposed to be, if I'm not mistaken, a new patch that comes out tomorrow.
Right.
Or not tomorrow. Next week is what I meant to say. Next week. Like Monday, Tuesday, sometime around then.
Right.
Which means that there's going to be time between this event and the in-studio LAN, where there's going to be an entire meta that's going to develop that technically we're not going to be seeing here on the broadcast. There's going to be a whole new potential that we're going to be seeing at that in-studio LAN. Exciting, but we still have one more match to go. The seeding match between Team Risk and Mockingbird coming up right after this break.